Hello, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Annette, and I am so excited that you are watching part of the conversation that we have been having, which is talking about your mindset, talking about your thoughts, and about your belief system. How that you can literally transform your life by intentionally looking into your belief system, trying to understand the reason why you believe the things that you believe, and see what is it that is probably not serving me. What is it that is wrong with this belief that I have believed? And especially taking control of the kind of thoughts that we entertain, because your thoughts are going to determine your reality. Your mind is listening. So today I want to dive a little deeper into this conversation, and I want to be out there putting myself as an example. That means that I'm going all very vulnerable today just for you, so that you understand exactly what I am saying, especially to most of us who are believers in Christ Jesus, those of us who have absolutely trust in the fact that you did not appear on this earth by coincidence, but that you are here strategically and you placed here by God, and that you have an assignment, you have a tag on your life. There is a purpose for which you came here, so that if you align with God, God is going to enable you to bring that manifestation. However, it is all dependent on you to understand the fact that it takes you. God will never force you. Yes, God has said it's going to be, but it takes you to begin to be intentional about those things, to begin to move towards that direction. Prepare your life in accordance to a pattern that is going to serve this, call it purpose, the reason why you are here. And if you have known me for a bit, I've talked about my background. I've talked about how I grew up in total poverty, and although and the poverty was very accepted, it was in a way celebrated. I didn't even know at a certain age that we were really poor. Getting a full stomach was one of the ways that made you feel rich. You get what I'm saying? So that when you have eaten a rounded meal in a day, then you call yourself rich. You don't really have any worries. When I started maturing, getting to an age where I would begin to understand things, especially when a time came when my daddy actually lost his job and I had to step out of school. Meanwhile, my other siblings went ahead. The reason I had to step out was because there were many of us who were in college at that time, and my parents couldn't afford to pay for that. Year was the turning point in my life, because I actually had to stay home and watch most of my classmates move ahead. My friends were in school, and it hit me really hard. And so I was very angry. But I also remember that I wasn't angry with my parents, because I totally understood. My parents explained it to me, even though after a while I looked back and I didn't understand why was it me. But I thought again, understanding now, that it had to be me for some reason, because, and I'm glad that it was me, because that situation brought me to a place where I became very bitter and very angry, but not as if I even knew what I was doing. However, I told myself, I made a vow. I remember this day, I was lying down in the grass, just staring into the sky, and I saw this huge plane flying past, and I told myself that I will someday get out of this environment. I will someday sit in that plane. And I actually pointed at it. I said, someday it will be me that will be sitting in there, leaving this country for good. I would be very surprised that eventually that became like some kind of an obsession. I talked so much about that. I wanted that so much that I started talking to my family about it. I started harassing anyone who cared to listen. I talked to my parents. I told everyone about this plan, right? But it was, of course, always met with that, that looked like, look at this dreamer, like, you're just crazy. So I had a dream. That dream came to me that time. I made that conscious decision. I'm not sure today I understand that that dream had been in me, and God had used that situation to make me aware of it, to make me aware that there is an expectation on my life, and it would take me to understand that and then align with God in order that we dive down to the matter and start digging it out. So I told myself that for me to be able to realize this my dream of traveling out of this country, it is so unfortunate that every young person's dream is to leave the country because it is so bad. The poverty is so bad, so that it just feels like traveling abroad is a certificate. It is a way of escaping poverty. And so every young person would dream of that. And but the only difference is that many don't get that dream fulfilled because it is, of course, a very expensive venture. But I wouldn't, for some reason, stop dreaming, irrespective of the fact that that was not even a possibility, looking at the background I am coming from. So when I had the opportunity to go back to school, I knew that I had to be very serious with educating myself, because that will be the platform that I will use, or should I say the ladder that I will use in order to achieve that dream of mine. And things seem to have been very good for a short while, up until I got to that age of 19, to that age of 20, where I decided, okay, let me try out, having boyfriend and things like that, like all of my other mates were doing. And boom, before I knew it, I am pregnant. Now, this is the moment where I would say that it felt to me as if my whole world came crashing down. It felt to me as if I had literally pressed on the delete button of my very existence, of all those things that I had promised myself that I would never allow for my own child to suffer this kind of a thing. I had made those vows every time that I would go out in that field and lay down, and I would tell myself that this situation that I am going through, this poverty, my children will never suffer it. But then here am I, and I'm pregnant. I'm barely capable of taking care of myself. My parents are already struggling with trying to, take care of us. Now, how are they going to take care of another child? And that was the place where I felt it is over. The most terrible thing that can happen to a teenager, when I call myself a teenager at the age of 19, 20, I'm talking about where I come from. They see you as a mature person, even legally, according to the system, it's when you turn 21. So at that age, I was still a teenager. And even if I were not a teenager, even if I were 21, even if I were 25, I was not in a place. I didn't have the capacity to be able to take care of another child. So it was such a huge challenge. The world came crushing down, and I literally felt that this is over, this is done. But let me tell you something, the way God is going to work through this matter, the way God is going to work through this thing, for me to eventually look back from where I am sitting at now and say, Lord, thank you. So if you are asking me, Annette, are you saying thank you that you went through that? The answer is yes. So could it also just be that what you are going through right now, that thing that just happened, your word has come crashing down, that it feels like your heart is skipping its beat, because that's how terrified you are. I remember that I ran away from home. And my parents were very gentle people, very kind and loving. My parents wrote me a letter and said to come back home. And my daddy emphasized that you should come back home in the way you left. And that was when I understood that the man knew that I was pregnant. And I was only 2 months pregnant, getting to the 3rd month. But my father knew it. I don't know how he knew it. And he never talked to me about it. And that is how amazing that man was. And God rest his dear soul. My father has passed, and I love him to bits. But my father never addressed me. He never approached me. He never asked what happened. I'm sure, of course, he had his plan, his way that he wanted to approach that, and I didn't know, so I ran away. When I received that letter, I gathered all the courage that I had And I came back home, and when I got back home, they told me they've known that I have been always very kind of like intentional about my life, and that this is a mistake, but they are going to help me fix. They basically took care of everything. And when I look back, it is really amazing for me to imagine how great my parents were to help me through that. And my daughter was born, and by the time my daughter will be 7 months, I decided that I wanted to go back to school, and my parents would support me. My mom supported, and they said they would take care of the baby. I went back to school. This time I'm in high school, and I'm going to school. I'm writing the advanced level. I'm going to school, and I'm coming home, and I'm breastfeeding the baby. I will sit in the class in the afternoon, and I'll actually have, you know, all that milk thing. I told you I'm going to be very vulnerable. I'll actually have that milk thing, the milk come out and stain my clothes. And fortunately, I had this favor, that I had this teacher that will, he called me out in front of the class, and he appreciated me for not giving up on my life, for wanting to go back to school, and being that young and having a baby at home. And he promised that he was going to assist me in any way that he could in my education, so that I will achieve, I will come out with a certain level of success, at least, if not excellence. And he did. I remember that was my history teacher, Pa Kum. God bless him wherever he is right now. Let me go back and remind you and tell you something. I will keep having these dreams of seeing malnourished children with protruding stomachs, with very dirty and like really terrible looking children. And I will always wake up, you know, panting and fearing that that kind of a situation, that can be my fate, and that can be the fate of the child. I started inwardly rekindling that dream that I once had. When I started maturing, it started feeling like that dream cannot be realized, because I'm poor, my parents are poor, and coming from the background that I came from, there is no possibility that that kind of a thing could happen. So I stopped dreaming. But now those dreams made me to want to, no, this cannot be, this will not happen. So when I had my child, and I loved my baby, my daughter, to bits, and I thought I would do everything, I would do anything possible to give her the best life ever. And now here is the kick, the power of the thought. I entertained that idea. I wanted it so bad that I realized that it was again an obsession, and I started living the future. I was able to collapse time and to bring that future into the moment where I began living as though I was already living, and thinking and even talking as if I was already living abroad. For some reason, I believed it so much. I stopped talking about it to people, because people always laughed when I said that, and I don't blame them. But I remember the last time that I talked about it with my dad, he called me and sat me down and said, please explain to me, how do you intend to make this come true? I told him, Dad, I don't know how this is going to happen. But even if it meant for the ocean to dry so I can cross on food, I'm going to realize this. And I remember my dad taking a very deep breath, because he saw the determination in my eyes. I was determined. I wasn't looking at how possible is this. And to be quite frank with you, it wasn't intentional. There was just this innocence that made me to believe in this dream so much, so that I knew that it would happen, come rain, come sun. And that is how I married myself with that dream. While going to school, I was looking for possibilities and all of those things. The dream was realized through me gaining a scholarship from the Belgian government to come study in Belgium for free. Now, I want to tell you something. It wasn't luck. It wasn't just mere coincidence. Yes, you have that dream. Yes, you have all those expectations. But there is something that you need to do, because there is something that happens when that thought, when that dream becomes one with you. it ceases from being just a dream, like superficially, but it starts becoming your reality. Your subconsciousness starts recording and registering that like a reality. And so I believe that God sets some principles in the universe, in this world, that they begin to come in place to work that thing out. Now, I had that dream. It was so buried in me. And although the fact that I had a baby seemed to have, it threatened to stop that dream. However, God used that same circumstance, that same thing, to make me dream even more, to make me not want to give up on that dream. How I see it is this: the kind of thoughts that you have are coming from the kind of belief that you have. And that belief or the thoughts will eventually materialize in this physical realm. That at every given moment in time, there is this quantum field of possibilities that is existing somewhere out there. That means that at every given moment, at every given time, you can choose to reach out to this field and pick the possibility that you are looking for, and allow for that to be manifested in your reality. It is like a choice, the choices that you make. It is like those balloons that are different colors of balloons with different choices inside. They are at the same time present in your timeline. You just get to choose to reach out and pick one. And when you pick that one and burst in, then you will see what is the outcome. And for you to be able to choose the right one, you start working on being positive. Start wanting good things about yourself. It's not a bad thing to dream. This is not, to someone, this is not a testimony. To someone, this is nothing. But to me, that dream that I would never allow for my child to suffer became my reality. Because not long after I traveled, when I settled down, I brought my child, and both of my kids today are in the place that I wanted, I dreamed for them to be. They have the life that I wanted as a child. That to me is a great deal of a dream come true. In as much as it might sound so insignificant to you, it is still worth you comparing it to that circumstance that you are going through, and to ask yourself that question: what if this thing that is happening to me right now is not happening against me, but is happening for me? Getting pregnant, and the fact that I will constantly have those terrible nightmares of seeing those type of hungry children, and they will wear these dirty clothes. I told myself I will wake up panting, and I will be like, no, my child could never go through something like that. That all of that setup was working for me. So what am I saying? I do not know what your current circumstance is. He put that dream in your heart. I guess the message you are listening, you're listening this for this message. He is the one that has put that dream in your heart. He is the one who has put that thing in you. And so he is not expecting you to go and fulfill it all by yourself. All he wants for you to do is to keep the fire burning, is to not allow for the flame to go down, because he is moving heaven and earth in your favor. It doesn't matter what you are seeing. Believe that all things work together for good, the good of those that trust and love God and are called according to his purpose. Yes, God loves you and he has called you according to his purpose. So all he wants for you is to align in righteousness. Whatever it is that you want to be in this world, I truly do not care what it is. I just know that if you want it, you can get it. And if you want it, you can change the current circumstance. It doesn't matter what is speaking against it. you can beat it. It starts with you believing that you can do it. And I know that it is a little bit difficult for you to change your mindset abruptly. What I'm trying to say is that most often than not, God requires for you to keep that logical part of you to the side and just believe that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just trusting that God knows what he is doing. I'm trusting this God that he knows how to use whatever this is that I have. I don't have anything, God, but all I have is the belief that you have said it, and if you have said it, you will do it. And I guess that is the message I bring to you today. And looking at my past and where I am now, it is a great milestone. I'm a nobody, and yet, so I hope that you were encouraged, and please do not forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might just need to hear this. And I will see you next time, and until then, remain blessed.